Everybody, and welcome back to the Entertainment Esquire. Today we will be discussing celebrity trials in the context of Young Thug and Sean Kingston. Let's get started. So here is your update that you need to know about Young Thug. He was released back around Halloween of last year after pleading mostly nolo contendere to charges as it stemmed to the RICO that Georgia, particularly Fulton County, was holding over his head. And if you recall, nolo contendere means that you're not pleading guilty, but you are essentially saying that you may have enough evidence to essentially bring a case against me. So we're not going to move forward with wasting the court's time with the trial. I'll just plead nolo contendere. He did plead guilty to some lesser of the charges, but there was a mixed bag of him pleading out, and part of his conditions was that he had this 15-year probation, which is essentially unheard of, that someone would be on probation for 15 years. But he wanted to get out, and so he agreed to this 15-year probation instead of taking it to trial all the way, which I actually recommended that he did with Brian Steele, because I actually think he would have gotten a not guilty like A$AP Rocky. But anyway, I digress. He took the deal, agreed to this 15-year probation, that if, he stayed out of any sort of gang activity, stayed away from guns, stayed out of Atlanta, Georgia, there was just all these things that he would have to face another day in jail or prison. And if he did participate in any of these things, that they would send him right back to jail to essentially finish serving the time in jail. And so here we are in 2025, months later, right? Here we are 2025, months later after he's been released. And he reposts an investigator who's supposedly also going after Lil Baby, and said that she was the biggest liar in the prosecutor's office, this particular investigator. And so Fannie Willis, who is the DA who brought the charges against him in the first place, said, oh, he's putting my investigator's life in danger. She's getting threats. I'm getting threats, because he retweeted a photo of her saying she's a liar. And so they wanted his probation revoked. They wanted him back in jail to serve the rest of his 15 years. So, of course, his lawyers responded that a repost of a photo and him stating his personal opinion of someone being a liar nowhere mirrors gang activity or violence as it relates to breaking his probation. But yeah, the prosecutor's office specifically said he engaged in conduct that directly threatens the safety of witnesses in this office, including this particular investigator who is a part of Fannie Willis' office. And the judge disagreed. And of course, Fannie Willis is once again disappointed because there's another loss in her office against Young Thug. So what exactly did the judge argue in this case? She argued that, and her name, by the way, is Judge Paige Whitaker, who gave him almost a standing ovation and sang his praises at his sentencing hearing. She seems to really like Young Thug. She wrote in a very short order that she didn't think the repost of the investigator in Fannie Willis' office was something that was a probation violation, but he probably should do a better job of staying away from certain topics. Regarding certain topics, it would be prudent for him to stay away from certain topics. So that was just a snippet of her order you just saw on the screen here. And so she's essentially telling Young Thug, okay, this isn't a probation violation, but how about you just stay away from any topics as it relates to this office, your trial, your investigation. And I think what's troubling about that is, even though she's saying he should stay away from certain topics to avoid getting these motions thrown at him for him to be resentenced or finish his sentence in jail, it gives me, I don't have free speech anymore. That's what it gives me. It's giving Young Thug for the next 15 years really does not have his First Amendment rights to free speech. He has to be very careful what he says, because anything that appears to be gang related, violence related, can be used as a probation violation, and he can find himself facing another motion to revoke his probation, and if finally successful, serving the rest of the 15 years in jail. This is the photo of what he retweeted Again, I don't think it was a probation violation. I think it was a long shot. I think what she may have had on her side, Fannie Willis had on her side, is that by retweeting the photo, the woman received threats. Fannie Willis then again starting to receive new threats. But I think as a prosecutor and probably an investigator in a high profile office like Fulton County, it's expected that you're going to receive threats. So I don't know. I think if she had any weight in her motion, it was that they received threats. But again, him reposting a public photo of someone that is publicly known to testify for Fannie Willis in these type of high profile cases, it's just already known. It's already known information. So he can't control what people then do after they see him repost something that is really just a personal opinion of what he thinks of that particular person in her office. So I did think it was a stretch. And so here we are. Young Thug is still free as a bird. He definitely is like a cat. He's got 9 lives. Next up, Sean Kingston and his mom have been found guilty of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and actual 4 counts of wire fraud. Let's jump into this case. So Sean Kingston and his mom, if you don't know, have been found guilty recently of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and actual wire fraud with an elaborate scheme of over $1 million, defrauding a lot of luxury providers, from music equipment to cars to furniture, essentially saying, hey, give me these luxury goods in exchange for my promise to pay. You know that I'm Sean Kingston. I am good for the money. In short, this is what has happened here. And so he did not make good on paying any of these vendors or suppliers of these luxury goods. And so the feds decided to indict him and his mom in this elaborate scheme, and he was found guilty of all of these charges, including conspiracy and actual wire fraud in this elaborate scheme. And they will be facing up to 20 years each due to this scheme. Now, you may wonder, why is he out on bond and his mom isn't? Because the sentencing hearing actually isn't until July. Well, his mom actually had already done some prison time for fraud before, and so they did not give her the luxury of having a bond to stay out until her actual sentencing hearing. Versus Sean Kingston, this is his first time, and so he actually received bond and he is home. And so he did receive his bond. His mom did not. I definitely think she influenced him to be a part of this scheme. And even though most will say, well, he's an adult, I definitely think because she had more experience doing this, she convinced him that it was okay to essentially create this scheme where both of them would promise his celebrity status or referrals to his other celebrity friends to essentially exchange it for promises to pay later for luxury goods and services. The scheme included furniture, stereo systems, cars, all sorts of things were promised based on his celebrity status in exchange for these things. And so now they're both facing up to 20 years in prison now that they have a guilty verdict. He broke down in tears when he saw that he could leave and his mom could not. So this is really a sad story. This has been the Entertainment Esquire. Thank you for watching. You can find me on all my social media handles at The Entertainment ESQ and on YouTube at The Entertainment Esquire. Take care, everyone.